Everybody needs to wake up. Wake up right now. It is happening. America is under attack, but not in the way that you think it is. What we're witnessing isn't just violence. It's a massive psychological operation being run on the American people by the very agencies that are supposed to protect us. And it's working. People are falling for it 24 hours before Congress certifies Trump's presidency. Last night, I received an email from my friend, Colonel Douglas McGregor, friend of the show. You guys know him well. And his words have been ringing in my head ever since. He said, Clayton, when something makes no sense, chances are it does not. And let me tell you, the story we're being fed about these twin terror attacks in New Orleans and Trump Tower in Vegas doesn't make any sense at all.
Chaos in New Orleans. A New Year's celebration ends tragically as a truck drives into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street.
The FBI is sifting through tips to find out why a highly decorated Army soldier blew up a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
So let's unpack what's really going on here. 2 attacks in just a matter of hours. One in New Orleans, one in Las Vegas. The timing, the narratives, the contradictions. It's all too convenient. And all of this is happening just 15 days before Donald Trump takes office. Coincidence? I don't think so. Before diving into these specifics of these so-called terror attacks, it's critical to understand the larger picture here, okay? America's deep state created Al-Qaeda. It created ISIS. This isn't speculation. It's documented fact. The deep state funds, trains, and supports these groups, using them as tools to destabilize regions, execute regime change operations, and justify endless wars. Just look at Al-Qaeda and what they did at the regime change operation carried out by the CIA in Syria last month. This was done before Trump takes office on purpose, people. Wake up. It forces Trump's hands into a war against Iran. And yet, what are we hearing from the conservative media right now? They're conveniently forgetting all of this. Instead, they're parroting the narrative that ISIS has somehow infiltrated the United States to carry out these attacks, that Iran has now snuck man-pad missiles into the United States to shoot down American planes.
But we had 2 solid sources, one south of the border and then one from an element within our own government that confirmed independently of each other that some Iranian-made man-pads, so surface-to-air missiles, had come across the border.
So we now have Iranian missiles. Who knows how many inside the United States?
That is not something you're going to see in a lot of places. Like I said, I didn't even want to talk about it.
That's exactly the story the CIA wants them to tell. And when one of these missiles takes down an American airliner, Americans will be so furious they'll demand that Trump goes to war against Iran. Just look at this NBC headline this morning. A perfect storm, extremism, online, political polarization are increasing risk of attacks, experts say. Experts, yeah. And just 2 days ago, we learned that Jake Sullivan has laid out plans to bomb Iran for President Biden, something he's actively considering before Trump takes office. Good. So we'll have a full-fledged war on our hands that Trump will need to deal with. Great. Let's be clear. This is happening because the CIA is orchestrating it. As former CIA agent Michael Scheuer has explained to me a few weeks ago, this is their strategy. They use what he called dumb Muslims in their operations, people who are expendable, easily manipulated, perfect scapegoats for creating false flags.
They may be finished, Clayton, with shooters, but not with a truck bomb or an aerial weapon of some kind. And they can blame it on anybody. They've got all the gangsters in the country they need, and they can set them up. The FBI specialty is setting up Muslim terrorists.
Now let's get into the bizarre facts surrounding both of these cases. As Colonel McGregor pointed out to me in an email, when something makes no sense, chances are it does not. So let's start with the Tesla truck explosion in Las Vegas. The suspect, an 18-year Special Forces veteran, Matt Livelsberger, with the highest level of security clearance, is an incredibly unlikely candidate for this type of attack. According to sources in the military, he was a top-notch guy who was very close to retirement. He spent 18 years in the Special Forces, not just 2 or 3. People like him don't just wake up one day, make a hard left, carry out a sudden act of violence. He was more than capable of constructing a far more sophisticated explosive device. The crude fireworks and fuel setup in the Tesla truck just doesn't align with his training. My 12-year-old could have done a better job. There's no record of political extremism either. Reports say he was a Trump supporter who loved the United States. We now know he was a reality TV star, next to U.S. Special Forces star Tim Kennedy.
It's a reality show that pits teams of elite soldiers from around the world against each other.
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces.
Okay, so now, think about it. We've got a guy in a BlackRock commercial as part of the first Trump shooter. We got a guy who was a part of an Azov battalion promo video in Ukraine, was the second attempted Trump shooter. Now this guy was a reality TV star on a History Channel show? What? And the coup de grace? Livelsberger was shot in the head with a Desert Eagle handgun before the bomb went off. Okay.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
Yes, he was dead in the Tesla truck before the bomb was activated. But wait a second. Last night, new video emerges showing Matt Livelsberger in the Tesla truck, his head moving right before the explosion goes off. But the FBI told us he was shot in the head with a .50 caliber handgun that would have blown his entire head off. They are liars, of course. And most importantly, after the bombing, his Signal account was changed. Okay, what the F? None of this adds up. And yet we're being asked to accept it without question? My question is this guy still alive? The body was burned beyond recognition. Beyond that, Livelsberger allegedly sent an email to multiple conservative news outlets where he explained that he witnessed the U.S. military carrying out war crimes in Afghanistan back in 2019, and that these drones all over the U.S. right now are using advanced gravity propulsion technology, basically UFO technology. He told Sam Shumate, who then appeared on the Sean Ryan podcast, that this information would change humanity.
And he said, what I'm going to send you, now these are literally his words, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. That was his phrase, change the course of humanity.
Okay, guys, what does the CIA want you to believe right now? And what is actually the truth? Friend of the show, Laura Logan, says this, quote, you don't have to be a genius to spot that this email is filled with media talking points and smacks of a staged cover-up. From civilian casualties, war crimes, to drones on the East Coast. There's something for everyone here. I would bet good money this guy never wrote a single word of this crap. And then there's the New Orleans attack. Within 24 hours of the attack, New York Post reporter in yoga pants was somehow granted access to the alleged killer's apartment. There, she filmed a walk and talk showing off a conveniently staged scene with a Quran, radical manifestos, neatly arranged plans, all right there in the apartment. How does this happen? Who allowed her into the crime scene so quickly? Why wasn't the same courtesy extended in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the FBI cremated Trump's alleged shooter without notifying his family, wiped his apartment totally clean?
Just very unkempt in here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property that they recorded here.
This isn't journalism, this is theater, orchestrated to sell the American people a prepackaged narrative. The FBI called this reporter 12 hours after they had a secure crime scene to say, hey, come on over here and film yourself. What? Who benefits? It's clear who benefits from regime change wars and terror in the United States. These aren't random events, they're calculated moves in a much larger game. As journalist Whitney Webb explains, this is all part of the plan. You'll be told that digital ID, digital surveillance, money, and Palantir big data pre-crime algorithms are the only way to stop the terror attacks. And it would be disturbing to see how many fall for the ruse, don't give in to the fear, and don't consent. So Whitney sums it up perfectly. These attacks and the fear they create aren't just about control, they're a sales pitch for digital IDs, surveillance, currencies, algorithmic pre-crime systems that promise to keep us safe while robbing us of every last shred of freedom. This chaos, this fear, this destruction of trust in institutions, it's all part of a larger operation to centralize power, take away your buying power, right? They want a centralized digital currency. Don't give in to this fear. Don't consent to it. That's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to their push towards a digital currency, taking your ability away to transact however you want with US dollars, gold, or silver. With 2 weeks between now and the inauguration, I'm issuing my most important silver announcement of the decade. 9 analysts, all right now, have buy ratings. They are covering this one. Wall Street stalwart Franklin Templeton, as well as Sprott Incorporated, billionaire investor Eric Sprott, are all shareholders of this company that I'm about to show you, okay? This is a silver company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It is, I believe, one of the most underpriced, undervalued silver stocks of our generation. I know that's a big statement, but I'd like to detail exactly why I believe that. Seriously, my hope is you'll look back on this and be proud that you watched this, that you received this information, and that you did your own homework on it, okay? The company I'm talking about is not a typical or average silver company. It is perhaps the most compelling one I've ever come across. It's trading right now on the New York Stock Exchange. 9 analysts already covering it. All of them have issued a buy rating. And Eric Sprott is a notable shareholder. as well as Sprott Incorporated and Franklin Templeton, which is a $1 trillion Wall Street giant. That company is Vizsla Silver. Here is their ticker on your screen. Okay, now remember this, write it down, and remember you heard it here. I want you to do your own homework on this. Now you can see these analyst price targets right now on the screen. The stock is currently trading under $2 US. And I'm telling you that these price targets from these analysts range from $2.75 all the way up to $4.50 a share. And they're justified, okay, in my personal view. Again, here is the current price of the company as of this recording on this Sunday, under $2 US. 2025, though, is a year that I believe is filled with catalysts for Vizsla Silver, whose management I personally consider to be the best in the business. So I want you to go ahead and deep dive into the bios of the top brass of this company. Look at their credentials. I love it. And you can do that on their website. Now I'm going to drop some bombshells on you right now. All of the following are facts. They are not speculations. These are not maybes. These are not rumors. These are verifiable facts. Number one, Vizsla Silver has a market cap of less than $500 million. With $88 million in cash and zero debt, okay? Number two, Vizsla Silver issued a preliminary economic assessment for its silver project with an estimated production cost of $9.40 ounce of silver. Compare that to the global average of $17.56 per ounce. There's no guarantees, of course, but these preliminary assessments are very encouraging. And number three, Vizsla's silver project, called the Panuco Project, is the world's largest, yes, the largest, silver and gold project that isn't even in production yet. Number four, the company's 2025 catalysts include making a production decision, updating their mineral resource estimate, and conducting a feasibility study. The company intends to make a production decision only following the release of this positive feasibility study. Seriously, I can't find a single reason not to conduct an in-depth due diligence on Vizsla Silver. Dive into the details of it, okay, given these potential catalysts right now. Now let's talk about this. The 9 analysts with their buy ratings and favorable price targets. As I record this video on this Sunday, shares are trading under $2. Now let's see where 9 analysts are putting their targets, okay? I'm going to put them up here on the screen. Look at this. 275, 295, 305, 319. 329, 347, 375, 451, and 475, which is more than 150% higher than today's price. And this chart right here is a big one for me. This is the one that made me realize the upside potential of this company. A developer like Vizsla Silver is trading at 0.43x of the net present value, yet the average producer trades at 1.04x of the net present value. So once the market anticipates production is coming, once they know it's coming, the potential then re-rating occurs, and that represents a 164% upside. If you understand these numbers, it's shocking. And I'm a huge investor into precious metals companies, because not only do I invest in precious metals, but I invest in the companies that are pulling the minerals out of the ground. So it's very important to understand this upside potential. And I personally believe Vizsla Silver could be a significant story in the silver sector. There is no other silver project of that scale, size, and near-term production timeline that's even remotely comparable. Seriously, if you understand Vizsla Silver like I do, the risk is in staying indifferent to this, if you ask me. So guys, research this company for yourself. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. Personally, I believe this could be the silver stock of the decade in my personal view. I'll have links to their website in the description below, and we'll see you next time, everyone.